What is shaken, Internet? This is Salt bringing you the How to Tank for Dummies Grimrail Depot guide. This guide will cover the Grimrail Depot dungeon in Warlords of Draenor, focusing on tank mechanics but covering other aspects as well, including the normal and heroic version trash and bosses, as well as covering the various achievements. It'll be broken up by bosses. Click on any of the annotations on the screen now to jump directly to any boss. For those of you already in the dungeon and needing a quick synopsis, charge the first boss into the tower where the little guy jumps to, tank everything like normal on the second boss, and move out of stuff while avoiding traps on the last boss. To start with, Grimrail Depot is a level 100 instance. It starts you storming an Iron Horde train station and eventually jumping aboard the train itself. The first area is relatively simple. There are three types of trash: overseers, technicians, and loaders. The loaders basically do nothing. The technicians do some damage and try to activate iron stars, which can and should be interrupted to stop some group-wide damage, and the overseers charge at you. Your best bet is to kill overseers first while facing them into a wall, stopping them from hitting the rest of the group. Keep interrupting technicians when they start activating stuff, and just tank the loaders, period. Quick note, in Heroic, the technicians will actually stun random players very briefly. Be prepared if the healer gets stunned with some minor cooldowns, in case you're tanking multiple things. The first boss is just around the corner. Borka and Rocket Spark are a duo boss that do not share health. Rocket Spark is untankable and will shoot rockets around at random players. Don't stand in bad swirls if you can avoid it. Borka is the one you'll be tanking, facing away from the others as he does some cone attacks. He'll also smash periodically, doing group-wide raid damage, but nothing for you to do about it. Every so often, Rocket Spark will jump on a tower and be unattackable. When this happens, Borka will start doing a mad dash, kind of like the Overseers did during the trash. You'll want to mad dash into the tower that Rocket Spark is standing on. This will knock the little guy off and let DPS hit him again. Now, since the bosses don't share health pools, one will likely die first. When this happens, the other will become enraged and deal a lot more damage. If Borka dies first, then the little guy will do more damage to everyone, but he still can't be tanked, so you can't really do anything about it. If Rocket Spark dies first, then Borka will get angry and deal a lot more damage to you as a tank. Get some major cooldowns ready here. If possible, the group should deal damage to both evenly, so to let this phase go very, very quickly. There is one achievement tied to the Borka and Rocket Spark fight. This is why we can't have nice things. Love it. This achievement requires Borka to smash 4 crates in the arena with his mad dash. Almost none of them will be near where Rocket Spark jumps up, so you'll have to let the little guy barrage everyone in the group for a very long time, putting a lot of stress on your healer. You might try to do 2 crates the first time, then knock him down, then 2 crates the next time and finish the fight, since you'll likely go through at least 2 phases of mad dashes. After the duo goes down, it's on to the train. You'll have to fight a few trash mobs on the way up to the rafters. These guys don't hit ridiculously hard, but they do have a stacking debuff that increases the damage you'll take from them. And you'll need to keep avoiding the bad circles while fighting them, since the others keep throwing bombs at you. Once on the train, you get to fight more trash. Now, there's really not much to say about these packs except for 2 of them. First, Gunners, which will shoot very damaging flamethrowers at you, which you should step away from, and point away from the group. And Cinder Seers, which drop large fire zones on the ground. Gunners should simply be faced away from the group, as their shrapnel blast hurts a lot, and you should step out of it as soon as they start casting it. Cinder Seers are a bit harder for you to deal with, as they'll put giant fire zones on random party members. Normally this would be pretty easy to deal with, but because the train cars are so small, you don't have a lot of room to work with, and I find the visual effect actually very hard to see sometimes. Just move if you're burning. Nitrog is the next target. This fight is actually pretty fun. Nitrog starts as a normal boss in a very, very small space, doing some mortar shots, aka bad stuff you don't stand in, and otherwise being a normal tank and spank boss. Once he gets to around 60% health or so, however, he'll run away and jump in his auto cannon, opening up the walls of the cart and starting the real fight. The boss himself will only do one thing during this entire fight: lock on to a party member and shoot a lot of missiles at them repeatedly. I don't think tanks can be locked on from experience, but whoever is locked on should stay behind one of the various pillars in the room to block the shots. Now, a lot of ads will continuously spawn throughout this phase as well, which have various uses. Infantry ads are completely pointless and can be tanked and forgotten. Boomer ads will do more damage, but more importantly, when they die, you can right-click them to pick up mortar shells. More on this in just a second. Grenadier ads will do some AoE damage. and when they die, you can click on them to get grenades. These are great to throw at the ads, not the boss, as they do nothing to the boss. This lets you kill more ads very, very quickly. If anyone picks up mortar shells, they can jump in the various cannons around the room on the sides and shoot a homing missile, at the boss. This is the only way to move forward, and it's the only way to actually hurt the boss during this phase too. Once enough missiles have actually been fired at him, he'll jump out of the cannon and go back to being a normal boss with some AoE moves, just like in Phase 1. Now in Heroic, there is slightly more to watch out for. First is the boss's Slag Blast, which basically puts fire down on a random section of the train. This is pretty simple to avoid, just move forward or backwards to get away from it. Do note that this fire extends to the sides even though it doesn't always look like it, so don't stand on the windy areas on the side thinking that you're safe. Another addition in the Heroic are the Gunners from before. These are the guys who did the Shrapnel Blast, doing tons of extra damage. They will continuously do that Shrapnel Blast, doing lots of damage to everyone in front of them. Your best bet while tanking these guys is to stand upwind of them, as they generally get stuck near the side. If you stand upwind, then it's easy for your group to just kind of let the wind push them out of that blast. A nice addition is that when you click on a dead gunner, you'll actually get shrapnel. This allows you to jump in those same turrets and use your own flamethrower, dealing tons of damage to nearby enemies. Basically, this is really great for tanks, as you can aggro everything, jump in a turret, and then mow them all down very quickly. Finally, there is one extra achievement from this boss, No Ticket. This is an achievement that not everyone can do very easily, as you actually have to knock 20 of the ads off during the middle phase of the sides off. You have to knock them off the sides of the train. Some classes have bigger and easier knockbacks, such as the Druid's Typhoon. You'll need to finish the boss after doing so, but I don't think you need to do all 20 in a single run. The only difficulty you might face is dealing with the phase for a long time, with the tank taking lots of hits from the ads while trying to position them near the side of the train, or, potentially falling off himself. The last section of the train is pretty short. You'll have to quickly run through a small fire gauntlet, then deal with some new trash before the boss. The scouts will spawn little swirls. Just don't stand in these, as they do a lot of damage. The Farseers are more trouble, having two moves. Storm Shield, which is a self-buff, absorbing damage and sending lightning bolts out at anybody who hits them. This is interruptible, and you should interrupt this if you can. The other is Thunder Zone, which makes very damaging lightning zones over random party members. Just simply do not stand in this. The loaders pretty much do nothing, just tank them as normal. Now, once clearing the final bit of trash, be sure to pull them back to the front of the car, as anyone who's at the back will get scorched when the boss arrives. The final boss, Tavra, I'm saying that right, yes, will come flying in on her dragon shortly after you kill the trash. She's honestly a pretty easy fight, as she only has two moves. Spinning Spear, which throws out a line shot dealing damage to everyone in front of her, and Freezing Snare, which is basically a long snare if you step on a trap. Her dragon will assist her, though, periodically breathing flames down on the train car. These last quite a while, and the dragon will actually breathe more fire every single time, so eventually it will cover the entire car, acting as a soft enrage. In general, you need to avoid the spears. She stops for a second before throwing these, so you can move out of the way, and you need to not step in the traps if the dragon's about to breathe. Right after the dragon breathes, if there's a safe trap, you can jump in to hopefully just get rid of it so that somebody else doesn't stand it. There's one extra mechanic in Heroic. Tavra will cast Hunter's Mark on random players. After a few seconds, she'll shoot a fire zone at their feet, so if you get targeted, you should run away from the group when that happens, and away from the fire afterwards. This makes positioning for the Dragonfire even harder, as it will take up even more space on the cart, or car, or whatever you call it. Once you take down Tavra, you'll be teleported to the end of the dungeon where you can loot her. If you have the legendary quest for the Core of Iron, you can loot it in this final area as well. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this guide for dummies. Click the annotation in the top left to see more dungeon or raid guides. Please like, favorite, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and, as always, you keep it salty, Internet.